Will the February 5th meeting of the Nags Head Board of Commissioners please come to order? Let's have a moment of silence to begin with. Let's pledge allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we have a motion for the adoption of the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Not all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, like sign. There being none, so approved. Next item on our agenda is audience response. And I ask that you to hold your comments to 5 minutes if you could, please. Please state your name and address as you come to the podium. Morning, Mr. Toth.
Yeah, hi, I'm Louis Toth, and I live in the village. And I want to start the meeting off on a happy note. Thanks in part to, I think, it's John's wife, who alerted me to some feral cat problems in the village itself, in Lingside and on Reflections. And with the help of homeowners there, I was able to bring 10 feral cats down to the vet where they were neutered, given rabies shots, and returned. In one case, a couple, elderly couple, actually pushed the cats into traveling cases. They were that friendly there. So I didn't have to work very hard. Let me say, to continue my efforts, I need people's help. So let me just give just call me Louis, but my phone number is 441-3684. If you live in Nags Head and you want some feral cats caught, I mean, I'll pay for the vet bills and stuff like that. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Toth. Paul, how are you this morning?
Good morning. I'm Paula Donahue, and I'm here representing the League of Women Voters of Dare County. I'm here to present to you the 2014 Citizen Guide, which has been published by the League since 1988. They're distributed annually to government and business offices throughout the county. And we'd like to acknowledge the municipalities and local businesses that contributed so generously toward our publication expenses, and acknowledge the support of the many employees who provided updated information. Our guide is published under the auspices of the State League of Women Voters Citizen Education Foundation. The guide provides names and addresses, phone numbers, and email addresses for national, state, county, and municipality officials. Additionally, the guide has information on governmentally funded recreation areas and services, local attractions, voting information, and emergency numbers. 6,500 copies of the guide are being distributed by the League from Duck to Hatteras Village, Roanoke Island, and mainland Dare County. They're available in libraries, post offices, the Baum and Fessenden centers, as well as town and county offices. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan political organization that encourages informed and active participation of citizens in government and influences public policy through education and advocacy. Publishing this guide is part of our continued commitment to provide pertinent information to our community's voter. Membership in the League of Women Voters is open to anyone of voting age, female or male. New members are always welcome. Thank you for your support, and we know you'll find our guide helpful. I'm going to give these to
Paula, we thank you so much, and thank the League of Women Voters for this publication. It's most informative book we have on the Outer Banks, and it's a great asset, and we thank you so much.
Thank you.
Does anybody else would like to speak this morning?
I'm Richard Murphy, 8817 South of Logan Inlet Road. First of all, I'd like to congratulate Mr. Mayor and the two new Board of Commissioners. I look forward to working with you guys, and I am pleased that you are willing to dedicate the time and effort that it takes to maintain Nags Head in the fashion that we all have grown to love it. And congratulations to Commissioner Walters being appointed Mayor Pro Tem. I know that each one of you commissioners have this one common thread, and that's being pro-business. Our businesses are obviously very important, and how we manage those businesses and how we manage and control the development of those businesses have made Nags Head a unique town, and we look forward to continuing to maintain that. And obviously, you know, the definition of, my definition, and I think just about anybody's definition of being pro-business is to not only promote and develop controlled business, but also to maintain the businesses that we have and do anything that we can as town officials, you know, to try to maintain that. We've got a unique distinction that we're the only town on the Outer Banks to have a hospital. But we also, at the opposite end of the spectrum, we now have another unique distinction, and that is that we no longer have a drugstore in Nags Head. It's kind of ironic that we have a hospital and we do not have a drugstore. Each and every one of you are, I'm quite sure, familiar with the fact that Bear Drugs, you know, had an armed robbery, and then about a week later, someone broke in the store. Wanting to understand exactly why we lost that business, Steve Evans, the owner, is a friend of mine, and I approached him to inquire exactly, you know, why all of a sudden he was closing the business after so many years. And he's got one, you know, up the beach, you know, that he continues to maintain and will. He brought something to my attention that was really alarming. You know, not only did, obviously, the two break-ins, you know, or the robbery and the break-in, you know, caused him some financial distress, but he was, 2 years ago, he made a request to have some of the landscaping in front of his store taken down. Some of the large pines have grown to be, you know, 12 feet tall, you know, pretty dense. And obviously, the sustainability of a business is to have curb appeal and have proper exposure. The staff decided that that could not happen. He couldn't take those down and couldn't replace them with lower level landscaping. I'm not saying that that was part of it. I mean, that was a culprit of him closing, but obviously, if that is a problem in our town, we need to take a look at we need to have staff take a look at the ordinances that we have with, that require landscaping and how that landscaping can be maintained and what flexibility that we have in actually reducing that landscaping. Steve took the proper approach by coming to the town, and the town was not flexible, unlike the owners of the Sonic, who chose to not come to the town and just take them down anyway, you know, and then we had to go back in and require them to put some low level. But there again, that's the same situation. They didn't have that curb appeal or that exposure from the bypass, and it's a shame. So I would suggest that the commissioners have staff take a look at our landscaping ordinances, and you all know that we me being on the planning board, have been busy working on ordinances and revamping those. And this is one aspect that we may want to take a look at and either rewrite it or at least set down some definitions so that staff has a little bit of flexibility so far as changing the landscaping if it interferes with business and maintaining our businesses. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Richard. Would anybody else like to speak this morning? If not, I'll declare audience response closed. Chief Sawyer, we have a new employee to introduce this morning.
We do. Morning, Mayor, Board.
Morning.
It's my pleasure to introduce Trey Simmons, firefighter EMT, the newest member of Nags Head Fire Rescue. I should say that he's actually been a reserve firefighter since 2011. He's also been before this board as a lifeguard, so he's brought services to the town for some years. It's so nice to have Trey here before you today again. He's here with his wife Samantha, wonderful, well-behaved daughter Logan, enjoying some breakfast. And I'll tell you that Trey grew up in Chesapeake, Virginia, and he landed on the Outer Banks in 2001. Since then, he's worked very hard, not only in private business, but in the fire department. He's attained his firefighter EMT, and he's worked very hard since then and earned all the respect of the people on his shift and in the fire department. Really happy to have him on board, and I've learned recently that some of his employees acknowledge that he is the best singer on their shift, and he also has the largest helmet size in the fire department. So these are also great distinctions. So, Trey, congratulations.
Trey, we're mighty happy to have you with us, and I hope you realize you just made at least a 20-year commitment to us.
That's great.
Thank you.
Glad to. Thank you, sir.
Welcome.
Thank you very much. Great, thanks. Thanks for being here. Congratulations. Thank you.
Chief Brinkley, have a 15-year award.
Yes, Mayor. Good morning. Good morning, Board of Commissioners. It's my pleasure to come before you today to recognize a police employee for their 15 years of service to the town, and it's Sergeant Chris Montgomery. Chris is originally from Connecticut, from Fairfield, Connecticut. After high school, he attended one of our great institutions here in the state, East Carolina University, where he obtained his bachelor's degree in criminal justice. He returned to his home state of Connecticut, where he was a police officer for 2 years in Fairfield. His wife has ties to our area. She's originally from the Virginia area, so she was able to get him back down to our area, and he began work here at the Nags Head Police Department. Since that time, Chris has been a member of our patrol division, also involved in criminal investigations, and now he's a sergeant where he oversees a shift. He's also a certified bike officer, an accident reconstructionist, and he's one of our firearms instructors. Chris will soon be switching over to supervise our criminal investigations unit as of March 1st, and I know he's excited about that new challenge as well. Chris is a graduate of the FBI National Academy and has also done work towards his master's degree in criminal justice. He is an asset to our department, and we're certainly proud to have him here with us. In his free time, he is very active with his family. He enjoys spending time on his boat, and also he's very active in the Storm soccer program here in our county. So Chris is certainly an ambassador for the town and for the police department, and we're glad to have him. Congratulations.
Chris, we thank you so much for your service. It's certainly good to have you, and we look forward to a lot of continued service with you.
Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
What goes to 15 goes to 30.
That is correct.
Hope to keep you around, Sergeant.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations, Chris.
Thank you. That's right. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Next item is the consent agenda.
Mayor, I may have made a mistake by not asking to move an item up under the adoption, and I beg the board's indulgence that we could remove item 5 to my agenda for a
Okay, item 5 to
brief discussion.
Commissioner's agenda. to make that in the form of a motion to accept the consent agenda with,
Yes.
have to move item 5 to
Yes.
your agenda.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. In discussion. If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Like, those opposed, like sign. And there being none, so the consent agenda, except item 5, has been accepted. Committee reports. Do we have any committee reports this morning?
I just have a brief one.
Okay.
Um,
Mr. Walters?
This is for the Tourist Bureau. We had our first meeting, and it was basically an organizational meeting. So at that point in time, we elected our chair, vice chair, secretary, treasurer, and assistant treasurer. Those are Monica Thibodeau is the chair, Tim Cafferty is the vice chair, Jody Hess is the secretary, Dory Fuller is the treasurer, and Irvin Bateman is the assistant treasurer. And we have several events that will be coming up in the near future. The Taste of the Beach is March 14th through 17th. Outer Banks Bike Week is the 18th through the 27th. The Outer Banks Brew Tog, which is a new event, will be April 26th and 27th. The second annual Hatteras Storytelling Festival is May 2nd and 4th on Hatteras Island in Hatteras Village. And the Seafood Festival is October 18th. So as time goes near, I'll be bringing more information about those events. We'll be having a planning session on, at our next meeting in February, so we'll know more then about the future. So,
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I'd like to make a very brief update on what's happening with the parking subcommittee of the planning board.
Good, thank
As
you.
the liaison to that subcommittee. I'm happy to report that the subcommittee is moving along very rapidly under the leadership of Mark Cornwell and the facilitation of Elizabeth Teague. They've had 2 meetings in January. They have another meeting scheduled for tomorrow. They are using a process of reviewing the staff-developed draft of the chapter and any additional specific topics, and they're making quite good progress. I think we'll see that come together very quickly here in the near future. And I will be attending a portion of the meeting tomorrow. And one of the things we also will discuss in that meeting tomorrow is the importance of posting notes or minutes from those meetings in a timely fashion to keep the board and the public informed as to what's going on. I think they're doing a very good job.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Mears. As far as the posting of minutes, I think we probably agreed at our retreat that we would post minutes to the site after they were, not draft minutes, but after they were finalized by the committee. So I think that was our agreement.
Just a question. Are all these meetings being advertised?
If it's a board-appointed committee, then yes, it has to be. The subcommittees, I don't believe, the work of the planning board committee, I don't believe always are, nor do they have, nor do they need to be by statute. They certainly can be. But we don't, if a subcommittee's meeting, we don't advertise that. If you've appointed a committee to come back, then we do.
Okay. Any other committee reports?
One question on the draft minutes, though. Technically, they don't get approved till, like in the case of planning board, a month later. So, but things happen in between time. And in fact, we will get them in our packet in a draft form. So I think we should look at frequency of meeting versus, and I'm not saying a hard and fast rule, but on some of these where the time is a bit too long, a draft certainly can't hurt if it says draft, to let it go.
Okay.
Would it be possible, because I know there's interest in the public, maybe as an alternative to draft minutes, there be just more of a summary that just simply states the who, what, when, and where, and why, maybe. One of the concerns I have about putting draft minutes up there is if we post something and that gets in someone's hand and if there's a factual error, then you all know perception becomes reality, and then we've got something out there that's not been approved, and it could create more trouble than necessary. But disclosing that the committee met, the subcommittee met for this reason, I'm just offering that out there as an alternative.
With a contact name and number.
Could staff bring us back a recommendation at our next meeting on this particular?
I can bring back an example that would,
Right.
for the last subcommittee, what it would look like.
Yeah, if you would, please.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Fine. Thank you.
Any other committee reports? Next item is consideration of appointments to boards and committees. You have an attachment in your agenda for that. We've got several appointments that need to be made. First one is the Board of Adjustments. We've got one appointment that needs to be there, John Mascaro. His term is up. Do I hear a motion to fill that spot?
Mayor, I make a motion to reappoint John Mascaro to a full term on the Board of Adjustments.
Second.
Made and seconded to reappoint John Mascaro to a full term on the Board of Adjustments. Any discussion? Not all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And so ordered. Fireman's Relief Fund.
Do we need to reappoint the chairman and the vice chairman?
I think we also have an alternate vacancy, don't
We
we?
have a vacancy.
Mayor, I would make a motion that we reappoint Jack Cooper as chairman of the Board of Adjustments and Margaret Suppler as the vice chair of the Board of Adjustments.
Second that also.
Motion's been made and seconded to reappoint Jack Cooper as chair of the Board of Adjustments and Margaret Suppler as vice chair. Is there any discussion there? Not all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, like sign. There being none, so ordered. Fireman's Release Fund Board of Trustees, the term of Joe Fessler.
Mayor, excuse me a second. Am I reading this wrong, that we have a vacancy as an alternate and an applicant?
That's correct.
I mean, there's too many pages here, I agree.
Yeah.
I think Ms. Lowe has applied, and we have an
Look,
alternate vacancy
I
down
was
here.
looking down the eligible for reappointments and then.
Yeah, I know, the yeses and nos are confusing.
All right, the spot for, that was held by Linda Foster is vacant. Now, she resigned November 1st, 2013. Do we have a nomination to fill that alternate spot on the Board of Adjustments?
Mayor, I nominate Angelina Lowe, who applied and meets the criteria.
Did Angelina want the Board of Adjustments?
Yeah, she did apply, and I'd second that motion.
All right. Are there any other nominations for that spot? Any discussion for the motion on the floor to appoint Angelina Lowe as, to the position of alternate to the Board of Adjustments? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, and there being none. Thank you for bringing that up. I missed that one. Fireman's Relief Fund Board of Trustees, the term of Joe Fessler was terminated on January 1st, 2014. She would like to continue to serve in that spot. do we have a nomination for the spot of, to serve on the Relief Fund Board of Trustees?
Mayor, I would make a motion to reappoint Jo Fessler. She does an excellent job and has done so for many years. She has a great interest in the fire department.
Good.
And I would-
Second, motion made and seconded. Any other nominations for the spot? Not all those in favor of appointing Jo Fessler to a full term on the Fireman's Relief Fund of Trustees, Board of Trustees, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, like sign of being done, so ordered. There is one additional appointment we need to make, and that is to the Comprehensive Pedestrian Plan Steering Committee. I understand that is a mayor-appointed committee, so I would like to add to that committee Dick Campbell as a member of the Comprehensive Pedestrian Plan Steering Committee.
Mayor, point of order, his application is inside the window that our policy requires, so we should defer that to another meeting.
I looked at the policy and I don't think it applies to board appointments, but not to mayor appointments. Was my interpretation of the policy.
Okay, I'll reread it then.
Mr. Lighty, do you have a,
My impression is that the procedure for appointments only applies to board appointments and not to the mayor's appointments.
that was my understanding.
Okay? I stand corrected.
Thank you.
There's actually no term limits, or I guess the limit's up when the project's done, and there's no maximum, minimum. So I think you could appoint any number of people to that.
This is an ad hoc committee that was appointed by the mayor. Next item is Town Manager Ogren and Finance Officer Kim Kenny, review of our 6-month budget summary.
Wait a minute. Oh, Ken.
All right, hold on, just back up a minute. Personnel grievance. We do have some applicants for that. I didn't have that here. Personnel grievance committee is down to 1 member now.
At present, there is no pressing need.
Good.
That's good.
But we do
One
have-
never
I mean,
knows.
We do have at least 2 applicants.
Three.
Would you like to appoint some additional members to the grievance committee?
I'd make a motion that Mr. Cornwell be appointed.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded to appoint Mark Cornwell to the grievance committee. Any discussion on that? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, like sign. There being none. Any additional appointments to the grievance committee now?
I frankly would appoint make a motion to appoint all of them. We're down to 1 out of required 5. And just to give history, when we first established this committee, we had 6 of us. And 2 years later, at the first case, I was the only appointee present. So one never knows, so let's get them started and trained, and we'll see what happens. Unless someone has a specific objection to the other 2.
Those 2 being Ms. Futrell
Futrell and Mr. Foote.
Mr. Foote.
You'd like to make-
Isn't Mr. White's term expired as well?
Yeah, we should put him back up too. I was going to bring that up separately. Mr. White is the continuity of that board right now.
I'll entertain a motion. What would you
My
like to do?
motion is to simply, Mr. White, Mr. Foote, Ms. Futrell also be appointed.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Not all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, like sign. And so ordered.
And we still need one more.
Still need at least one more. We're looking for additional applicants. Okay, next item on the agenda is review of our 6-month budget summary.
Morning, Mayor, Commissioners. I've been providing Cliff with a monthly summary of briefly where we are with revenues and expenditures compared to budget, and you've been provided with that for the 6 months ending December 31st. Just want to mention a few highlights, and I'll take any questions if you have any. Revenues are at 49.36% for the general fund, which is about where we would expect to be. There are several large items that aren't received as of December that would include loan proceeds and contributions from other funds like the Water Fund, Capital Reserve, and Beach Nourishment. The tax collection rate at 12/31 was 87.72, which was down slightly from 90.04 from last year. However, as of January 30th, that's up to 96.87%, and myself and my staff will be doing everything we can to get that as close to 100 as we can by June. Similarly, for the general fund expenditures, they're also pretty much where you'd expect to be for halfway through the year, actually only at 34.09% of budget in total. There are some capital items that were not ordered as of December 31. That would include a public works loader and a dumpster truck. Since then, the loader has been ordered, and hopefully the dumpster truck will be ordered shortly. Additionally, Powell is not under contract as of December, but that's also in the works and should be shortly. Additionally, the transaction for property acquisition had not been completed as of December, so that will be done in the next 6 months. And then additionally, there are the contributions to the Capital Reserve Fund for the excess taxes from special obligation for debt that we set aside for future years. That hasn't been done as of December, nor has the percentage of sales tax related to the special obligation levy. Those will also both be done in the second half of the year. And then I'll try to answer any questions. Oh, the one other thing that I didn't mention is legal is the one expenditure that was more than we would expect, and that was included in the budget adjustment under the consent agenda to provide additional funding there. And now I'll answer any questions you might have.
That monthly summary is something we'll continue. Just, no surprises. We don't want you to be caught off guard. It's good. It keeps us in check. It keeps the department heads in check. But as we send that, if it's a one-page summary, which I think is a good snapshot. Just, it's on the screen now, just again to keep us all aware of the financial situation. If there's anything that you see or anything you'd like to see presented to you differently, we can make those adjustments as you go through your review as well.
Any questions, Kim? Kim, I see our property tax collection percentages is a little bit below last year. Is there any particular reason for that, or just?
The other thing I can think of is we didn't do the discount for early payment.
Okay.
We possibly, but like I said, we were up to 96.87 as of the end of January, and we'll get as close to 100 as we can by June.
Okay, any other questions? If not, thank you very much. Next item is items referred to in presentations from our town attorney.
Mr. Mayor and members of the Board of Commissioners, I'd like to provide you with a brief update on some pending litigation matters. In connection with the San Soto lawsuit, the court had ordered us, both sides, to submit supplemental briefs regarding the remaining liability issues, which we did submit on the deadline of January the 21st, and then he allowed us to submit responses to each other's supplemental brief, which were due, and ours were filed on January the 31st. As to where the court's going to go from there, we're not yet sure. I anticipate that he may schedule an oral argument sometime this month. But he had previously indicated to us that he was hoping to make a decision by the end of March on the liability issues in that case, and I think we're still on track for that, although there really is no deadline for the court to do that. And then secondly, in the two cases that had been decided by the Board of Adjustments, in which the Board of Adjustments had denied variances for the Osbornes, the Superior Court had also upheld the Board of Adjustments' denial of those variance requests. The Osbornes have appealed to the North Carolina Court of Appeals, and last week we submitted briefs to the North Carolina Court of Appeals in both of those cases. So that's where those two cases are standing right now. Other than that, there's really no other update to provide regarding pending legal matters.
Okay, any questions for our attorney?
That's all I had, sir.
Okay, good, thank you, John. Okay, items referred to in presentation from our town manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wanted to start with just a update on the status of Seagull Drive, the maintenance of that road, and also, but I wanted to first start with letting the board know of some easements that are presently used, private easements that are presently used off of Surfside, as well as Seagull for access to some residences there. And going through the file, notice this, what you'll see on the screen. This is the, this is a map from 2005. Is that Surfside? Okay, you'll see what the original intent was. That blue line depicts an easement between the second and third rows of homes down in South Nags Head. It's behind the first row of homes. I'm looking backwards. This again was taken in '05. We were at that time planning and looking at getting these easements and accesses because, as you can see, Surfside was quickly becoming eroded and lost to the ocean. Since then, some years back, we have been able to establish through the cooperation of the private homeowner, the private easements for access to these homes that used to be accessed through Surfside. So a portion of Surfside Road has been closed. There's General Statute 160A-299 describes in detail the process for closing a public right-of-way. One thing I think, and I ask you all as I go through with this, it'll become important to become aware of 160A-299 because I think eventually we may need to consider going through this process again when it comes to a portion of Seagull. But the problem is, it was somewhat uneventful going through that process because everyone had access to their home. No one would be aggrieved by that road being closed. The need wasn't there to service these homes. So what's happened is we have these private easements for access to as many as 4 homes off of one access. They're private easements. They are not maintained by the town. They're described in the homeowner's deeds. They're deeded to the property, whether it's 5 foot on this property and 5 foot on this property to make 10-foot easement or exactly where it's laid out. But there's no standard. There's no required town standard for a private easement. We try and inform the property owners when the easement becomes in a manner in which they need to maintain it, either by repaving it, restoning it, or resurfacing it, cutting the limbs or the trees the vegetation, so folks can get access to these homes. But I think it's important for future that this has almost been a 10-year, probably before, going back to Isabel, that we've been discussing this. Roberta, if you'll put up where we are now with these easements.
Cliff, before you go,
Yep.
point of, the blue line is, I think, where they were wanted easements. They were
Correct.
not all granted.
That's right.
Okay,
That blue was, at the time, back in '05, that's what we were hoping
Right.
to accomplish.
And if we can also, before you move on, unless you have another question.
No.
Before we move on, while we have this up here, I just want to point out for the board that this part, the southern part of Surfside, the town has closed whatever was left, but before the town did that, it was determined that the town's right-of-way had probably disappeared because mean high water had overtaken that portion of the right-of-way at some time, and so the town went through the process of closing whatever may have remained, on the basis that no one was going to be deprived of access thereby because they weren't able to use that right-of-way anyway. I'm not sure what the situation is with the northern part of Surfside, and I don't know if that was done on that area or not, but I do recall distinctly that that was the case with that part.
Yeah. Okay. Fast forward to today, and I'll just give you an example of what it looks like. Let's see, that's the northern end of Surfside. So you'll see up top here, there's an access from these homes. It comes in here, it's private easement. It comes in and services these homes, just kind of as we laid out, but then it stops. We have a house here that's been condemned since 2008 that doesn't presently have access. If they were able to get access, it would come through an easement here. So we've got homes that are serviced off of that, and then homes that are serviced here. It's this is sometime back we ended up putting a dumpster. This is a public street. These houses all roll their trash cans out and then leave them. They built a little corral that was taken over by sand and storm, and it became unsightly. The board had complaints and health concerns that were expressed. We've had them multiple times, and it just became more. More and more of a problem to where we ended up putting a dumpster there, and those houses are serviced by that dumpster. And Roberta, if you could go back, and I'll just go straight to Siegel. I just wanted to show you that's how those homes are being serviced. There's 3 clusters, I guess you could call them, of houses that are being serviced in that manner. And there's not a whole lot we can do with those because, again, they're private easements. We don't have any authority to place a standard on those homes. But now what we do need to discuss is Siegel. Again, this is 2005. This is what the plan was at the time to do the exact same sort of thing here. After the storm in '09, we tried to go ahead and get the owners. We sent letters to all of them, letting them know that it looked like that they were going to have to find alternative means to their home. We weren't able to do that. This home is accessed. They've moved their driveway here. This home did the same thing, so they're safe. These 3 homes, and you've heard from Mr. Allen, whose house this is. These 3 homes are serviced from an access back off of Body Out Court. The rest of these homes are all serviced by Siegel. Now, it's there, and we were able to back down this road with the trash truck and service these residential cans. These houses are the ones that we're in litigation with, minus 2 that were removed through the nuisance process. They are, I think, all but maybe 2 have been issued building permits at this time. They're in the process of receiving their building permits, so that's obviously the only way to access these homes is through Siegel. The town has had the town's gone to great lengths to ensure that our beach nourishment project had compatible sand, that it was a compatible source of sand. CAMA has a rule that states you can't bring in hardened fill. You can't bring in hardened fill seaward of the static line. This road is right seaward of the static line, and I believe that we need to continue with that policy that we don't bring in hardened fill for that road. I think paving that street would create a problem because of the amount of sand that would overtake it in short order. And plus, we've had discussions before when Surfside was being maintained, the dollar amount that it took to maintain a portion of that road versus all the other roads in town was 300 times the amount. I mean, it was just an astronomical difference. So what we're proposing to do now is service these houses with a dumpster. The load that these houses is going to place on this road is going to make it difficult, if not impossible, for the trash truck to service both sides. And we're going to run into the same thing with that amount of cans out here on this one lane, what amounts to pretty much a sandy road. There's access now to this point. We have since pushed sand south to get access to this house. Elizabeth, has this house received a building permit yet?
That house is 221, and that permit is being issued today.
Okay, so we're gonna, from what we're told by CAMA, we have to, we can push it to just get access to this house. All these houses will have, at this time, sandy parking areas, sandy driveways. They almost become best passable by four-wheel drive. Again, we're suggesting that it become basically a one-lane road. We could consider, there's a lot of options that we have. One thing we might consider is there's a 299.1 that talks about, in the general statute, that describes temporary closing of a road for projects in a watershed. I think we have a unique situation here where there may be a 299.2 where we talk about how to handle roads like this when they become too much money to invest of public taxpayer money for a few of these houses. So I'm not suggesting that we bring in fill. I'm not suggesting we bring in rock, that we just continue to maintain it as best we can. It is going to become probably partly a four-wheel drive access to some of these houses. That's the case in some others because the driveways are seaward of the static line and they can't, they have to be sandy material. But this is, even with after nourishment, this is going to cause problems. This is an erosion hotspot, and we can, Roberta, if you'll put up where we are today. This is 2013, 2 years after nourishment. And this is where we are today. So what I'm saying is that we don't need to pave or harden a road here. It's on the beach. We have to provide access to these houses. And John, here, correct me or stop me, either one. The general statutes require that we maintain a safe passage of our public right-of-way. It doesn't describe what safe means. It doesn't describe that it has to be passable by a Mazda Miata. It requires that you have safe passage, meaning no debris. Passage could be by walking, but in order for these houses to get their zoning permits, they're going to have parking. And so when we think about how do we maintain these roads, you have to take all these things into consideration. I'm not suggesting we close it at this time. I'm bringing this to the board's attention to let you know that, even after a hard nor'easter, we could have water up to this road. We have before. But I guess what I'm suggesting to the board is that we continue to maintain it in the manner in which we have. I do feel like the people along, it's been since November of '09 that we've been dealing with this. These residences, I do feel like they need a letter, either from myself or the board, describing where we are now, a little more detail than the phone calls or the emails that we may send back and forth, to let them know that, the status of this road, to remind them that, again, they may have to take the same measures that residents on Surfside Drive have, to let them know that it's become difficult, if not impossible, to service residential can. We're going to have to put a dumpster at the end. And to go ahead and let them know the status of that road. John, have I left anything out of this?
Just to follow up on what the manager has said, the town's obligation for its public streets is to keep those streets in a reasonably safe condition for travel and free from unnecessary obstructions. That does not require that the town pave or improve a road so long as it is reasonably safe for travel and free of unnecessary obstructions. That's so long as the road is a public road. The town does have the authority to close a public road. There's a statutory procedure to go through, but basically the town would be required to determine, in order to close a street, that the closure of the street is not contrary to the public interest, and that no individual owning property in the vicinity of the street or in the subdivision in which it is located would thereby be deprived of reasonable means of ingress and egress to their property. To the extent there's a right-of-way here, which I believe one still does exist, the owners of property in the subdivision, which includes people who are served by that street, do have an easement right, a private easement right, to use that same area where the town's right-of-way is. If the town were to close the road, that private easement would still exist. So in other words, even if the town were to close the road, the owners who own property along that street would have the right to continue using and to maintain and to improve that easement. So I think it could be said that no one would be deprived of access to their property because they would maintain and have the right to maintain that private right of access along that road, even if the road were closed as a public street. But in any event, that's what the manager was saying, and that's the situation that you have there.
The houses in that same area to the west of Seagull, are they served by an easement now, or the ones at both ends we had access, but I understood the manager to say that some of those houses in the middle didn't have an easement?
Only these three.
Have an
There's an easement here.
Right.
So this house is now either accessed from the southern portion of
House on
Seagull.
the other-
But
house
these
on the
three
other
are,
end has access,
right,
okay.
the rest are all accessing from Seagull.
Seagull, okay.
Beautiful.
So,
And Mr. Lady, what impact, if any, would this have on our suit that's ongoing in the courts now?
I think it could have an impact, particularly if the road were closed prior to the issuance of permits for all those houses, or a variance, to the extent anybody needs a variance. That could have an impact. I think it might be more prudent to wait until after that process has been completed to consider any action to close that road.
And of those 8, 6, as of today, it sounds like, will have building permits.
Okay.
And if it's agreeable to the board, I would like to send a letter to those west side property owners just summarizing what I just told you.
I think it's also good, based on Mr. Allen's letter, and Ms. Teague and I made a trip, and I've got some knowledge of most all of these because I was involved in that process years ago, that we send every property owner that's on each of these private easements, seaside or surfside, Seagull or Surfside, whichever one it is, and remind them, because there's been some changes of property, and I know nobody ever reads all the fine print, and remind them of their responsibility for the width, the trimming, and the maintenance of that. That it's not a town road, it's theirs. And I think they all need to be reminded at this time. And lastly, I just wonder if it's worth us trying again a simple plea, at least to the Seagull folks up here, to the ones on the west side of Seagull Road, the houses, a simple, would you guys like to rethink your opposition to an easement and maybe try and get some of these coming in from the backside and relieving the burden on the old Seagull Road? And I realize that this was totally unsuccessful before, but at least one shot at the thing.
I can include that in the
Yeah.
letter. And I'm thinking that letter is probably going to go to everyone in Challenger,
Not Challenger,
Body Island Court.
Body Island. on both sides. I mean, we know what happened last time, but maybe one shot and offer our assistance again to help them with the easement side if they need it, but at least get some of the load off that road.
Do we have a motion that the
I'd like
that the manager?
Ask a question
Yeah,
before.
right.
Of council, please, everything we do or don't do has legal implications. Is it advisable to send these letters and make these pleas that we've been discussing?
I don't see any risk to doing that at this time. I mean, you're simply reminding people that that's a prospect. I think it's really, there's no requirement that you do so, but I don't see any negative implications from doing that.
Thank you.
Okay, we've had questions from homeowners of there that have changed ownership since that time, and evidently all the provisions weren't fully communicated to them, so. Do I have a motion that the town manager write a letter to these property owners detailing what the easement situation is, and also asking for additional easements if at all possible?
Yeah. Motion to do.
Motion's made, is there a second to that?
Second.
Motion made and seconded, any discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, like sign. There being none, okay, Cliff,
Thank you.
ask Mr. Lighty to help you with that if you'd like.
Okay, the other thing, I'm asked for your consideration of approval of an amendment to the settlement agreement that the town entered with George Moore, Patricia Moore, George Neal, and Phyllis Neal. This has been some time in the making. Mr. Moore's house, this particular house, 119 Altoona, was declared a nuisance as part of the 26 back after the November '09 storm. We reached a settlement agreement whereby he would, that once any building permit was issued as the result of the storm, that he would concede to the nuisance process. What he's asked for and what he's agreed to and the attorney has worked up is what we're asking you to approve, and an amendment to that agreement that basically does three things. One, he has, instead of it immediately being essentially the end of or game over for him, it would be, he'd have 180 days to bring the house into compliance. He wanted to make, Mr. Moore wanted to make sure that this agreement would clearly transfer, and if he were successful in selling his house, that agreement would transfer. It spells out the process by which he could appeal or get, or be able to get permits. And then also, the third thing is it spells out if he fails to remedy the problem in 180 days, the process for the condemnation and removal of the home. I think this is a good alternative. This is good for Mr. Moore. His house, this agreement was entered into pre-beach nourishment. It was a completely different situation then. His house is one of many that's benefited from the beach nourishment project, and I think this is something you should consider and recommend you approve.
If I may, Mr. Ogburn has provided y'all with the amendment to the settlement agreement that Mr. Moore returned to me. It's been signed by all four of the people to the original settlement. He had requested one change to the original agreement that I proposed to him. We made that change and sent that to him. And what was signed and returned to us was that revised document. Unfortunately, what we received and what I forwarded to Mr. Ogburn did not include the second page, and so that does not appear here on the screen and in your packet. I'd recommend that if the board is prepared to approve this modification, which we've discussed this before, I'd recommend that what you'll do is wait until because there's the second paragraph. There we go. If you've got that there, then. If you have the whole agreement, then that's fine. I was just concerned that you didn't have the whole agreement in our materials. There we go, that's the whole agreement. Yeah,
Paragraph C.
yeah, there's a paragraph C to it.
This is
That was what Mr. Moore had requested, was a paragraph specifically confirming the assignability of the agreement so that it could easily transfer. I mean, I think that was implicit in the original agreement, but he wanted that included here, so we have included that. So this is the final agreement. So if y'all are prepared to approve this, that would be the document that I'd recommend that y'all approve.
Okay, yeah, Renee?
Mayor, I'm prepared to make a motion
Yes, please.
that we approve this document as presented by the attorney and the manager.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the agreement with Mr. Moore as presented by the attorney and our town manager. Any discussion? If not, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, like sign.
And thank you. And finally, Mr. Mayor, at your last meeting, we had a closed session and discussed Colony Ridge. I'd like to, if appropriate and approved by the board, actually to enter closed session as follow-up on further discussion on Colony Ridge.
And that would be in order to confer the board's attorney
Yes.
Yes.
and preserve the attorney-client privilege? Yeah, that'd be fine.
Want to give us a section number that we can go into closed
If y'all want to
session?
do it now, it would be pursuant to 143-318.11A3.
Have a motion that we go into closed session to consult with our attorney on both Colony Ridge and the charter franchise.
I make that motion.
Motion's made. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. We go into closed session to discuss those two issues. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. There being none. Commissioners back in session. John, would you like to report out on our closed session?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, the board did confer with the town's attorney while in closed session regarding matters that are within the attorney-client privilege, but no action was taken.
Thank you very much. Town manager, have anything else to bring to us this morning?
No, sir.
Okay, Board of Commissioners agenda. Commissioner Ratzenberger, you have an item to bring to us?
Mr. Mayor, thank you. I asked to pull item 5 from the consent agenda, which is some housekeeping updates to the board committee policy. And I agree with every one of those updates. They're corrections of errors. But I had kind of been waiting for us to hit the normal update period, which I thought was October of this year, to bring up paragraph 3C of the policy. Specifically says that committee members, permanent residents of the town or own real property should adhere to state ethics policy and shall not have been convicted of a felony crime. I have a problem with that last phrase because it does not cover the fact that once you have served your time and done everything, your rights of citizenship are restored. And that's covered, in fact, codified in North Carolina by 13-1, restoration of citizenship in the North Carolina General Statutes. And so I'd like to ask the board if, as long as we're making corrections, we couldn't fix up that last part to correct that.
Do you have a suggestion?
I'm not exactly sure how to phrase that without getting lengthy. I was really going to turn over to my buddy over here and see if he had a short phrase that would do it. I don't want to get into whereases and what fors and everything else, or simply say, unless is convicted of a felony crime, unless citizenship has been restored.
Does that do it?
Yeah, I think if you add in the phrase after felony crime, if you add in unless they have had their rights of citizenship restored, that should take care of your concern.
Okay.
Would you like to make that as a motion?
Yes, I would. Please.
Second to that motion.
Second.
Motion made and second to add to add to membership 3C, after convicted of a felony crime unless the citizenship rights have been restored.
And that includes all the strikes that were previously.
And all
Yeah,
the other
including
strikes
the
that were previously
previous.
made. Any discussion on that? Not all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign, so ordered.
Thank you, Mayor.
Commissioner Coon, do you have somebody that
Nothing.
you'd like to bring?
No, thank you.
Commissioner Walters? Commissioner Davis? Next item under my agenda is report from our Board of Commissioners retreat. We had last week, we braved the snow and the ice on Thursday and Friday and had our annual retreat. And really had a very productive retreat. I find my notes here, we'll get to what went on. We talked a lot about the town and what our mission is and what the mission of the Board of Commissioners is. And we revised the mission statement for our Board of Commissioners. And that mission statement now is, our mission is to serve the citizens, property owners, businesses, and visitors of the town of Nags Head through open governance. And that would be a real emphasis there on all inclusion in the governance of the town. A vision statement we revised also, and it's rather lengthy, so rather than reading that this morning, this vision statement will be on our webpage, and I'll ask you to take a look at it there. We made some changes and some updates and some language changes, but that's a vision that we have for the town of Nags Head, where we're heading, what we want to look like when we get there. So we've got a lot of work to do to get to that vision. We also developed goals for the town, and each one of these goals has a commissioner as the champion for that goal. It's a lot of work to do, and one concern is that we don't overwork staff trying to get all of this done. But our goals are, the first one is Parks and Recreation, and the town of Nags Head must be a good place to live and to visit. We must provide recreational amenities and attractions that appeal to a broad spectrum of age groups to help them maintain a healthy lifestyle. And under that, there are a number of action plans that are already in progress. The next goal is, and Commissioner Walters is the champion of that goal. The next goal is Nags Head promotion, and Commissioner Cahoon is champion of this goal, to make Nags Head a more welcoming business citizen community, open to new ideas, create atmosphere to foster small businesses, make Nags Head Beach accessibility to reach more people, and have action items that complement our land use plan. Goal number 3 is stormwater management, and Commissioner Demers is champion of this goal, and that is to establish an affordable long-range action plan for progressively improving the town's stormwater drainage infrastructure. Commit town resources towards execution of the plan, and maintain townwide visibility of the plan's progress and effectiveness. And then we have a sanitation and recycling goal, and I'm the champion of that goal. And that is, we will develop and evaluate systems to handle solid waste disposal in an economical and environmentally friendly manner that enhances the aesthetics of our community. The next goal is a shoreline management goal. Commissioner Ratzenberger is champion of this goal. And that goal is, the town of Nags Head is a community with an economy based on family vacation tourism. The basis of that economy is high-quality beach experience. And important elements of that goal are the natural environment typified by clean water and a landscape of sand dunes and non-invasive salt-tolerant vegetation. A healthy, well-maintained oceanfront beach that is accessible and usable and not blocked by large structures. A carefully managed sound front that preserves the natural and beneficial functions of the estuarine environment while balancing respect for private property rights and the needs to public access. A lot of that shoreline management will have to do with evaluations of where we stand on beach nourishment and beach renourishment and a plan to maintain our beaches long term. Our final goal is good governance, and that is a goal with our town manager, Cliff Ogburn, is the champion for that goal. And our mission is to provide open governance led by professionally trained decision makers who value the service needs of all our residents, businesses, and visitors of the town and make decisions accordingly. There's a lot of work to those goals, and 2014 will be the beginning year, and I'm sure they're going to be running for the next few years before we get all of that work done. We also have one action item this morning coming out of our retreat, and this is the appointment to boards and commissions that our commissioners serve on. And I think all of our commissioners have a copy of this, but I'm going to read them off so the public knows what they are, and then we'll ask the commissioners for approval. The Albemarle Commission Rural Planning Organization, Rural Transportation Advisory Committee, Commissioner Ratzenberger. The Albemarle Regional Solid Waste Authority, and that's an alternate position, Commissioner Demers. Dare County Land Transfer Tax Appeals Board, we made no appointment there. The Dare County Shoreline Management Commission, Commissioner Ratzenberger. The Dare County Tourism Board, Mayor Pro Tem Walters. Dare County Substance Abuse Board, Bob Edwards. The Dare County Government Education Channel Committee, Commissioner Cahoon. The DOT Pedestrian Plan Steering Committee, Commissioner Cahoon. The Jeanette Pier Advisory Committee, Mayor Pro Tem Walters. The North Carolina Beach Inlet and Waterways Association, Commissioner Cahoon serves on that. Outer Banks Community Development Corporation, Bob Edwards. The Windmill Point Advisory Committee, Mayor Pro Tem Walters and Commissioner Ratzenberger. YMCA Strategic Planning Process Committee, Commissioner Ratzenberger. The Colony Ridge Advisory Committee, Mayor Pro Tem Walters. The Dangerous Animal Appeal Board, Commissioner Demers. The Municipal Legislative Issues Committee, Mayor Pro Tem Susie Walters and Commissioner Cahoon. Parks and Rec Committee, with the Dowdy Park Subcommittee, Mayor Pro Tem Walters. And Mayor Pro Tem Walters, I have that you will make a call for those interested to be members of that subcommittee.
Please.
At this committee. Do I have a motion that those appointments to those committees be approved?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Okay, so ordered. Yes, ma'am.
Mayor, as part of those goals and committees and so forth, would you allow those of us to put on the town website a call, explain what we're trying to do, and put out a call for people that want to serve?
Please do. That's the real emphasis that we want. We have commissioners championing these goals, but they're citizens' goals, and we need to get citizens involved in all of these actions. So that was big emphasis during our retreat, is how do we get citizens involved in all of these actions? Because we'll only be successful if we do that. Staff cannot do all the work on these goals. We're going to have volunteers and citizens to do a lot of this work. So we would like to make sure that people who are interested, citizens who are interested in these areas, get involved. So please call for volunteers as you need them on the website and any other public way we can do it. And we'll also make those during this meetings.
Thank you.
Let's get back on our agenda again. We've got a modification to the 2014 Board of Commissioners meeting schedule. Our June meeting, there's a recommendation that we move that meeting from June 4th to June 11th so board members can attend Town Hall Day on June 4th. Is there any objection to making that move? I think we'll do that one by consensus.
Mr. Mayor, no objection. Just possible I may not be available that week.
Okay. We have a consensus that we move the June meeting to June 11th. Okay? We'll do that. Next item is setting our possible workshop dates for our capital improvement plan and our fiscal year 14-15 budget. You can see the dates that were used last year. Wrap up the capital improvement plan budget in April, and then do our budget workshops during the second half of May.
Do you want to wait until April to have a CIP workshop, or would you prefer to have it earlier?
I would defer that to the town manager. He's the one who's got to do the work.
We can be ready by late March, maybe the last week in March. Not sure when Easter is.
I'm out of town the last week in March. I got to put out an absence from the city report.
Maybe the 20th?
I'm out of town starting March 20th and for the rest of the month.
Could possibly do it the 19th in lieu of a mid-month.
When does NC Byways come to Nags Head?
The 17, 18, something like that.
It's all that week. I think we're probably going to be kind of forced to wait until the early April.
Yeah. What is 2 April? Ooh, now, right after the board meeting, it had been my intention to be gone in April for a couple of days. And that, very first week of the board meeting was not a good, and I'm committed on the 8th, Tuesday the 8th, but other than that.
The board meeting's on the 2nd, and when
Right.
were you planning on being out of town?
Well, the rest of the week.
All right, how about the following week?
I might have to work around something on the 8th, but on the 8th, I'd prefer not to be here, but I could maybe work around it.
I just think the earlier we can get started on the process, the better.
I fully agree.
Whatever we can work out.
How about April the 9th? That's a Wednesday.
That's fine.
everybody.
That's fine.
Yep.
It's at the CIP, Commissioner Cohen, is that okay with you?
Yes, sir.
April the 9th for the CIP workshop.
Yes, that will be fine, sir.
Okay. Set our,
Do we have a time?
what times best suits the board?
Don't care.
Anytime's good, as long as we allow plenty of time to work on
Plenty
it.
of
You know,
time.
let's not start it at 8 or 9 PM.
Let's don't start it at 7. Let's have it earlier in the day.
All right, Commissioner Coon, Commissioner Walters, y'all have a work schedule. When would y'all like to have it? 2
I
o'clock?
was saying 2 would be good.
That works for me.
2 o'clock in the afternoon? Okay. Budget workshop in May.
I'd like to be able to present the manager's budget at the first meeting in May.
So you'll present the manager's budget on the 7th of May. You want to wait till the next week after that presentation, the 14th, to start our workshop?
Give us time to digest it.
You digest it, study it, know what we're talking about when we get there, hopefully. We'll start the workshop on May the 14th. Want that one at 2 PM also?
Okay.
And we know we'll need at least one follow-up date. When would you like that?
Well, if we have it the last week of May, earlier sooner than later, since that's Memorial Day.
Yeah, I was thinking about the week of May 18th. We would have our mid-month that week. Would you like to make it a predecessor to our mid-month, or hold it the day before?
The day before would suit me better, as we
All right.
trying to be gone so long on that
All right,
date might.
Okay. How about May the 20th? You'd like that one at 2 o'clock also?
That works.
Okay. And then if we need another date, we'll schedule that when it's necessary. Is that agreeable with everyone?
Fine.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
planning board meeting, if you be here.
All right.
Can meet later that day, maybe. 5.
Planning board is, when are you meeting now,
Yeah.
3:30?
That's right. We conflict with that.
Now, let's keep it on that date, and we'll work out the logistics on what we need to do.
We can meet at the police training room at need be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's one other item, and this is a request for a letter from the mayor for our 12th annual Outer Banks Bike Week. I have a request from Kevin Johnson, President and COO of MS Family Enterprises Incorporated in Portsmouth, requesting a letter from the mayor that's welcoming bikers and supporting Bike Week in their Bike Week guide. Last year, May Oaks had sent them a letter, but I didn't want to send a letter without commissioner approval. It's just a letter welcoming and emphasizing that we're a family beach.
Mufflers.
What's your opinion? Commissioner Cahoon, I see you're thinking. Anybody else?
We sent a letter last year.
Yes.
We've done one every year.
I don't have
Yeah.
a problem with that.
Done every year.
Do we have consensus?
Sneak the word mufflers in there sometime.
We have a noise ordinance here.
Yeah, just a gentle reminder. Other than that,
So I think that completes my agenda. What about any other business we need to discuss today? Yeah, okay, that's right. One item of additional business, we want to appoint a nursing home evaluation committee. That committee will be composed of Mayor Pro Tem Walters, Town Manager Ogburn, Mrs. Tess Judge, Mrs. Kay White, and Ms. Melanie Corprew from the county, and I will also serve on that committee. Town Manager, do we know of any need for a mid-month meeting this month since we have completed the agenda today?
We have nothing scheduled for mid-month.
Nothing scheduled for mid-month. Do we? Do we want to schedule a mid-month meeting, or I'm asking that before adjournment, because we would adjourn to a mid-month meeting?
I have no issues to bring.
No issues to bring? Okay, well, we will entertain a motion for adjournment then.
So moved.
Seconded.
Motion moved, made and seconded to adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, like sign. There being none.
Oh, me too.
I'm going to the